Okay. So hi guys, in this video we will be discussing the common mistakes that all the students make or most of the students make while attempting the tax exam. Okay. So quickly when we're starting off with the understanding of the tax exam, it is important that these mistakes are identified. So Yukti and Mika, what do you think are the mistakes that you find to be making when you're preparing for this examination or any of the mocks that you've written so far?
My mistakes are mostly that I'll get either confused between what annual exemption to use in which topic. Either I'll miss that or I will miss on the dates, like the appropriation that I have, the proportion that we have to calculate the dates. I'll miss that. Okay, only when we're calculating the benefit, car benefit, I miss on the date and stuff like that.
Correct. And Yukti, what about you?
Yeah, so in the text, there's so many small concepts like which you need to be thorough with. So that's the thing.
Correct. So these are the very common mistakes that usually the students make as well. One is mostly about prorating it. Always remember that in tax, any benefits that are provided, they should always be prorated. So if you're being given with any of the taxable benefits that are to be identified, always try to find out what the date is and then prorate it accordingly. Like be it accommodation benefit, be it any car being provided, all of them should be prorated at all times. All right. That is one thing. And the other common mistake that students do is not studying the theory and going for the examination. The theory, in the sense, I'm talking about the tax administration part. Because tax administration, what students do is okay, this is not tested on a heavy basis, which is not true because in your examination you will be getting the tax administration for at least 10 to 12 marks. So it is important that you pay attention to remember all the dates and deadlines so that you can get those 10 to 12 marks in a very easy manner. Because again, as I've told earlier as well, you might make mistakes in your calculations, but if you're thorough with the dates and the dates and the penalty amounts, you will not miss out on a single mark at all. Okay, that is one thing. And coming to the other thing is, most of the students make a mistake of remembering all the values, like what is the personal allowance amount, what are the tax rates that are to be applied, what is the fuel benefit, what are the taper relief percentages. Let me tell you something, you do not have to remember those at all at any point of time, because those will be provided to you in the examination itself. Like, this is a set of all the examinable documents that will be provided to you in the examination. If you look at it, yeah. So you can clearly see what are the basic tax rates, what are the higher rate tax rates, what is additional rate, what is it being taxed at, what is the nil rate band, dividend rate band, personal allowance. All of these will be given to you in the examination. And coming to the residency status, you do not have to remember what the residency ties are. You have to just remember what the residency ties are, but you do not have to remember how many ties are to be satisfied in order to be considered to be considered to make them a resident or not. Is that clear? All these are literally
Yes.
provided to you in the examination. You do not have to worry about them at all. Okay. So over here, if you see in the prior years, what were the values, so it will also be provided to you in the exam, so you don't have to worry about it. And coming to the next thing that most of the students make a mistake in when computing the dividend income, they usually tend to take the same percentages that are for non-savings income and savings income and forget to take the dividend rates, which is a major mistake that I have found most of the students do it in the earlier mocks as well. So please keep it in mind, for dividend, the tax rates are different. Always keep a note of it. Make a note of this. All right. These are the these are the rates that you should be considering at all times: 8.75%, 33.75%, 39.35%. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the other thing, what I find most of the students making a mistake is they write down if there's, let's assume there are different types of income. So employment income is there. Next, you have your income from self-employment, employment. income from self-employment. Then let's take interest income, and dividend income. They compute all of the values in the same line and the separate in the same line items. Like all of them, they compute here. Write it as total income X, and then they reduce personal allowance. They reduce PA minus X, and then they consider this to be the taxable income. And on this, they start calculating the tax percentages. Like they start applying the tax rates that have been provided to you, which is not at all the right approach. Always remember, if you're having multiple types of income, you should always classify them on the type on this field. That is, non-savings income should be included in one NSI, savings income should be here, and dividend income should be included here. Instead of including all of them in one single line, they should be added into multiple columns. Is that clear? Like dividend income should be part of this, and interest income should be a part of savings income. And what is the personal loans priority? Which all should the personal loans be priority given to? What is the first priority of reducing the personal allowance?
Non-savings income,
Then
then savings income, and then dividend income.
absolutely right. So whenever you're having a personal allowance, it is not always necessary that it should be deducted in full for non-savings income. If the non-savings income is anything is left over, then it will be transferred to savings income, then to the dividend income. Only the residual amount will be transferred, but not by your own choice. Okay. So let's say, for example, our income is 15,000. Then do we take up the entire PF non-savings income is 15,000? Do we take the entire personal allowance, or do we have a choice?
The non-savings income is 15,000.
Yeah, if the non-savings income is 15,000, the entire personal allowance is to be used up here, or can we make it
Yes.
10,000 here, savings income 2,000 and 572 dividend income?
No, we have to use the whole personal allowance for non-savings.
Exactly. Always the personal allowance should be used in full, and if any from the non-savings income, if any residual is left over, that can be transferred to savings income and dividend income. Okay, this is another most common mistake made. Now, after this, until here, everyone has calculated the taxable income and everything is right so far, so good. But when calculating the tax liability, first always calculate it for non-savings income because it is straightforward. There are no nil rate bands, correct? Do we have any nil rate bands for non-savings income?
No.
Yes. There are no nil rate bands. So first calculate the tax liability for non-savings income, then move to the savings income. When you are moving to the savings income, always remember that the nil rate bands available will affect your bands. For suppose you have your non-savings income to be 37,200. Okay, and your savings income is, let's assume, it is around 5,000. So what is happening is this is a taxable income you're talking about. So what will happen? How much is the nil rate band that is available for this individual? How much nil rate band on savings income is available for this individual? Anyone?
It's 500.
It is 500. Absolutely right. So what will happen here? What will happen? This 37,200 will be charged at into 20% because it is lying between the threshold of 0 to 37,700. Now the nil rate band of 500 is available. So will that 500 be affecting this one? It will be forming part of the basic rate band and not otherwise. So this 500 into 0%. Once you do that, what is happening? The band is completed. The band has been completely exhausted. The basic rate band, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the other 4,500 should be taxed at 40%. And it is not like 500 is at 0%. And what the students do is, because 500 is at 0%, they don't consider it being affecting the band. So what they do, they take other 500 to be taxed at 20% and finally charge the other 37, how much is left over? 4,000 into the 40% band. That is not at all right. Always remember, the 500 nil rate band that is available for savings income or the dividend income of 500, it will always be affecting the bands that you're charging income in. Always remember that point. Is that clear? Okay.
Yes.
And other mistake that students do is misreading the question. If the question asks you to calculate taxable income, it only is asking you to calculate income after personal allowance and not your tax liability. So this is another common mistake where students try to calculate the tax liability, especially in the section C. This is identified where students try to first calculate the tax and taxable income and also start calculating the tax liability. Because of that, what happens is you will be losing out on your time that is left to solve the other questions. So always stick to what is being asked and do not write anything beyond what is being asked. All right?
Yes,
Clear
sir.
until here? Any doubts so far?
No, sir. All,
Again,
all.
the other thing that students make a mistake in is when considering the personal pension contributions, and gifted donations. If it has been mentioned that the gross values have been provided in the test, then you do not have to you do not have to multiply them with 20 with the 80 by 120 again. Okay, you do not have to gross them up again. Once the gross values are given, you do not have to gross them up again. Okay, you can directly take those values and instead of grossing them up all over again. Clear on that?
If it's grossed up, it'll be mentioned that it's gross, and if there's
Yes,
nothing mentioned, then we have to
then we
assume it's
gross it,
net.
then we'll have to gross it up. Exactly. Okay, this is one thing that you will have to remember at all times. And always remember, your personal allowance is affected based on the adjusted net income, and not just your net income. Okay, can you guys tell me what is your adjusted net income and what is net income? How do you calculate adjusted net income? Anyone?
Net income is after you deduct qualifying interest.
Okay, no, adjust net income is correct. Net income is where you calculate the total income that you get. But what is the difference between net income and the adjusted net income?
Adjusted net income is after you deduct the gross pension contributions and gross gifted donations, and it tells you if your personal allowance will be deducted or will it be the same.
Absolutely right. So less gross personal pension contributions, less gross gifted donations. Only if it exceeds 100,000 after these deductions, that is when your personal allowance will be affected. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So these are the pointers that it is very important to remember these always, because of the exam stress and all. I understand that sometimes these mistakes happen, but once you just quickly go through the pointers that you'll have to highlight, once you highlight all the pointers like I've done in the YouTube videos for debriefs and also in all the live sessions, once you look at them, if you highlight all the points that are relevant to the question that you're solving, it will make things easier to remember them and solve them during the examination. Okay. So these are the common mistakes that usually most of the students do. Again, in the similar manner for corporation tax, when we discuss about when we discuss the upper limit and the augmented profits limit, when associated companies are provided, the thresholds are reduced by are divided by the total number of companies, including the company itself, including the company in question. That is, let's say, for example, a company has three associated companies. So the thresholds will be reduced. The 1.5 million threshold will be divided by 4 and not 3. When the company in question should also be added in, when you're making that calculation. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So along with that, the other thing, whenever in the question you have any disallowed expenditure, allowable expenditure, it should always be marked with allowable expenditure should always be denoted in a separate line item with 0. You should not just ignore that value, you should add a 0 because 0.5 marks will be allocated to this. Okay. If you do not write that, though it will not affect your answer, if you do not write that 0, you will be missing out on 0.5 marks in a very silly way. Though your answer is right, you're missing out on those half marks. All right.
Yeah.
And the other common mistake is wrongly deducting disallowed expenditure. Allowed expenditure. You guys, everyone, most of the guys know that disallowed expenditure should be added back, but they make small symbol mistakes, like instead of keeping it at plus, they add a minus here. Because of that, your entire answer goes for a toss. So it is always very important to see what is a symbol that you're adding beside any value. Okay. So for that reason, always again use of formulas is also very important, like using the sum function rather than calculating it on your calculator and typing in the values. Try to calculate them in the spreadsheet. So this way what will happen, it will ensure that there are no mistakes that are happening in transferring the values. Like it was 60,500, but by mistake you have calculated this correctly on your calculator, but by mistake you have typed in 65,000. Is your answer correct now?
No.
So whichever calculations comes into your mind, it is always important to present the calculations in the Excel. Clear with these guys? These are the most common mistakes that are found when attempting the exams. And since the mocks are coming up and since the exam is also not far away, I want you guys to make a note of these and try to correct them so that you can definitely score better marks in the examination. All right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Are there any doubts so far? So I hope all of you guys will make a note of all of these common mistakes and try to implement them in your exam in the mocks that you'll be attempting.
Yeah.
Yes? All right. That is great, guys. So with this, we can end our session and all the very best. I hope to look at your mocks by tomorrow.